Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, one of the biggest fights, especially in British history, what everybody's kind of waiting for. Wasn't that Anthony Joshua, three-belt champion, versus Tyson Fury, right? The lineal champ and the WBC style champ, right? That's the fight that people keep talking about, that we keep getting these announcements for. Hey, they want the fight. Hey, we all agree with the fight. We all on the same page. Wait a minute, there's a handful of things that we still got open. We're going to announce this in 2 weeks. Hey, the announcement's imminent. And up until, it's signed, right? So that's what happened, in a nutshell in the last, few months. But so people are still anticipating, and now because it's signed, everybody's kind of giving their opinions. So, heavyweight contender, British style, Dave Allen, the white rhino, crazy dude. He's all right, though. David Allen, man, he's 18-5 with 2 draws, right? And, he's, journeyman type. But, hey, in 2019, he knocked out Lucas Brown. So I'm going to tell you, can't nobody take that from him, right? So David Allen, he gave his opinion on the Anthony Joshua versus Fury scenario. And his point is similar to mine, is, well, I don't think it's going to happen this year, period. He's got a feeling. He just doesn't think it's going to happen. He thinks also, with the pandemic, he didn't say pandemic, but, he's like, hey, we ain't going to be able to fit 90,000 in Wembley anytime soon, right? And so, all those things. And he's from planet Earth, which means he's probably has a social media account, right? And so, he has heard all the other little things that, people weren't going to say in mainstream type of scenarios, right? But I'm pretty sure you heard of the other things, discrepancies, like you ain't gonna go to Wembley without Tyson Fury having a boxing license in England, right? People won't say that, when it's a mainstream interview, but that's an issue. So England would be a problem. I'm sure he knows of that, and you still have the thing going on with this guy Deontay Wilder, kind of hanging over the shadow. That's not done with. So there's reasons that this fight, he doesn't think it's going to happen this year. So, yeah, he's joined the club, buddy. I really don't think it will. But, hey, if it does, it is. Now, he gave his opinion on some other things. He said, because we got the Dillian White versus Povetkin rematch coming up this weekend. So he said, shoot, man, Dillian going to win this rematch, and he's going to look good doing so, right? He said Dillian had him in control on that first fight, a lapse, and boom, you got stuck. Now, sometimes when you hear people describe that, Dave Allen made this clear. He said, yeah, it was a lapse from Dillian White, but make sure that was a world-class fighter with a world-class punch. Nothing lucky about it. So, make it clear. But he just thinks that Dillian White's going to come back and close the show this time in spectacular fashion. Cool. Now, another thing he says, too, no matter who is fighting right now, ain't nobody beating Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury in the next 4 to 5 years. Okay? Right? So that's a good way to just smooth this on into back to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, I think Mike Tyson's fight is on with Holyfield. That's just something, we'll talk about it when it's for sure. Because one time you heard that it's not going to happen, and then you heard it is going to happen. We'll wait till we got something that we think is kind of confirmed. But Mike Tyson said, basically, Tyson Fury and AJ, his opinion is, AJ ain't gonna effing touch him. AJ ain't gonna effing touch him, right? And AJ's a top quality guy. AJ's in everybody's top 3 heavyweights. No matter who you're for, AJ's gonna be in your top 3, right? No matter who your favorite is. So you're gonna have him there. So he don't think he's gonna effing touch Tyson Fury. Now that leads me to say, well, you do know that Deontay Wilder touched him twice. So Deontay Wilder's the worst one with no skill set. So wait a minute, he can't be able to have touched Fury twice pretty well, and Anthony Joshua's not going to touch him at all. So I don't know how that works there, right? But a lot of times Deontay Wilder bashing, right? It's kind of like in the USA, it's kind of like the Canelo praising, right? It's like what the mainstream narrative has to have and what has to say, like, hey, doesn't matter what Canelo doesn't do. It's all the things that he does. We're gonna make him do this, and it's basically the narrative. Deontay Wilder is trash, no matter what he does. So those are the things. The mainstream narrative is things that you're supposed to believe. Basically, like everybody that's been abducted by a UFO or seen one, or talked to them or worked with them or whatever they've done, all of them nuts. That's what the mainstream media will have you to believe, one way or another, because that's better for the masses. So some of this stuff is kind of like that, you know what I'm saying? But you know, when it comes to Deontay Wilder, I'll be straight up with you. You know, it's not like he's this and that, but he does the right thing in boxing. When you say you want a boxing guy, a guy that's going to try to get the hard fights, you know, I can't even get over the Luis Ortiz 2 times as a voluntary. You know, like I don't have to fight this guy, but I'm here. I'm trying to go that way when I see everybody going the opposite way of Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz. I know people try to say, oh, well, he's old and this and that, with just discarding the fact that he is number 2 in the WBC. So even Dillian White and Povetkin are fighting, right? But and the winner is talking, hey, let me get straight into the title match from number 6. Dillian White's number 6. So if he beats Povetkin, he wants to go past Ortiz again. Like he keeps talking about 1,000 days. He was waiting for a match, and then they told you you're supposed to fight Ortiz in between there, and you're just ignoring that. And we'll do it again. And nobody else in the top 15 is trying to get with this guy that's ranked so high that everyone knows is hard. All the boxers, people that are not boxing, saying he's old and this and that. But you can't say he's that old because he's the same age as Povetkin, for crying out loud. What is Povetkin doing? Anybody beating him up? Povetkin done been beat a time or two. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I see Deontay Wilder doing a lot of stuff that's, you know, it's like, wow. And I'm going to say something, too. When we got the AJ and Deontay Wilder negotiations back in the day, and we had that $50 million came on the table after Deontay Wilder was offered $12.5 million flat fee from Anthony Joshua. Never forget it. You know, it's like, okay, flat fee, and I'm coming to England, flat fee. You know, so Deontay Wilder just shut up. And then Anthony Joshua gave an interview saying, man, you know, he should take that with 2 hands at $12.5 million. That's his highest payday of the date, which it probably was at the time, right? Okay, cool. He should take it with 2 hands. Y'all about to make $100 million, but you should get 87 to what, right? You know, so this is 87 to 13 deal, or what we're gonna do here, right? Okay, cool. So he didn't say nothing, but in the same interview, Anthony Joshua said, you know, listen, you know, if somebody gave me $50 million, I would take it. I don't know if he did his would take it with both hands thing, but he said he would take it, right? That would be something. So that's what he got a few days later, exactly that. And then he didn't take it then. He started talking about fighting in England only. Because to get that deal, you have to imagine, it was a deal where only Anthony Joshua's purse was secure. He's going to get $50 million regardless. If they make $51 million, then Deontay get $1 million. Right? But if they make $100 million, then Deontay Wilder starts making that, you know, the same. Right? But before that, the risk was only on Deontay Wilder's side. So we had to fight, but it had to be on Showtime, pay-per-view, and all of that. So, you know, Anthony Joshua didn't want to go there. So he said, no, my fans deserve me to fight in England. And then what happens? A $15 million deal. They send Deontay Wilder a $15 million deal. Not 12.5 anymore, and I'm not taking your $50 million. And now you could take 15 million flat fee. Deontay was like, hell no, at first. Then he said, you know something? I'm coming to England. I'm taking that 15 million. Boom. 2 days later, we had to hurry up and sign Povetkin. The WBC stepped in, right? Had to hurry up Povetkin. In fact, not the WBC, another one. Who was it? WBA, I think it was. Hurry up. You have to fight Povetkin and sign within 24 hours. Google it yourself. I always write it up there right now, but I ain't editing this video. Bottom line is that. So that happened. And so that fell off. So he took 15 million. And my point is this, to make it shorter. If AJ and Deontay Wilder, you know, because I roll with Deontay Wilder, you know, I'm a fan of Deontay Wilder, whatever, right? If that was changed around and Deontay Wilder had said 50 million, right, and to go to England, and he's like, no, I don't want to go to England. I want to stay in America. And I didn't say stay in Nebraska or Alabama. I didn't say stay only in Las Vegas or somewhere in Florida or Madison Square Garden up in New York or somewhere in Texas, right? 'Cause that's how big it is, but whatever, right? All of America. If he wouldn't have went to the UK for 50 million, guarantee you his brother would have said, hey, I rode with him, but he should have took that 50 million and handled that business, right? Question is, can you guys do that kind of thing? That's the whole point of it right there. Because that's what that should have been right there. Because we probably would have got the fight if there was a little backlash there. Like, hey, from the British fans saying, you know something, we're going to stay up. Don't worry about it. Go over there and beat this boy's butt. Take that 50 million or more, beat his butt over there, right? And we're going to stay up and watch this one, right? That's what should have happened there. So back to David Allen. David Allen don't think Anthony Joshua and Fury are going to fight this year. You know, we all have our doubts. Now I know a lot of people do want to see the fight, so let them, hope. But there's a lot of things in the way of this fight, and it's weird. Think about it. We keep announcing things and still having problems. We have a mystery guy coming in from somewhere. It's like tabloid type stuff. This is not really boxing news. It's more like tabloid. So that's why we gotta just wait and see what's going to really happen, and get some facts to come out. Something that's really really factual, and not just these little tidbits, because it really is really sounding a little bit weak right now. Let's see what happens. I think David Allen has a point. I think we all have a point if we're a little bit question marks about it. Let's just wait until we see that they have a date, a venue, and probably wait until they walking out to the ring. That's probably when we're going to have to get hyped. Other than that, put on the brakes. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide, and I'm about to here, y'all.